I went to Home Depot. I picked up this QEP wet tile saw. Has a 7-inch blade. It was $109. Pretty reasonable. So it looks like that's it for in there. Our fence fell down here, so it has this. It's kind of cheaply made here, plastic fence. Peek on the bottom here. There's some stuff rolling around on the inside here. Here's our power cord, so we'll undo this here. I set up this little work area in my garage. It is currently actually 4 a.m. I'm determined to get this tile installed. Alright, this is the front of the saw here. Looks like it has a safety device here. I'm not sure if you'll actually even need that. You can pull this little plug out here, and you won't be able to turn it on or off. So I'm gonna put this to the side here. If you can see this, it looks like we have an adjustable table. Pull that right out pretty easily, but I guess you would probably use that if you had like a large format tile. And I assume one of these comes off here, and it looks like it's this one. Not quite sure what this is. Oh, look at that. That's a guide to cut. Looks like a guide to cut angles on your tile. Here is a guide for your fence. So you can put your tile in here and cut a 22.5 or a 45. It slides down the fence here while it's clipped on. We'll slide this guy on here. It actually grabs quite well. I'm pretty surprised. And there's like a raised surface here. You can kind of hear it when I run my nail over it. And that was that sound it was making. So it kind of locks it in place there. It's pretty nice. Looks like you have a blade guard here. And there's 2 screws here where this mounts into. I assume I have to loosen them up and slide this through here. But we'll do that. We'll do that after here. Got a Phillips screwdriver. Looks like you have an owner's manual with a blade wrench. And this looks to be the blade here. All right. So 7-inch diamond blade, continuous rim. It's just a standard tile blade for a wet saw. All right, now I'm gonna pull the directions out here. We're gonna mount the blade, and we're gonna get this filled up with water. This is the reservoir here. And we'll get this powered up, and we'll make a couple test cuts. All right, so we're gonna install the blade here. So the nut that came on the blade arbor was already loose. They want you to remove this shield. They call it a baffle. So we're gonna remove that. We got the nut off already. So this is 2-piece here. This piece stays on the inside. And then we put our blade on. And this cuts towards you. So these blades are directional. Just remember that. We'll stick this in here. There's a little tab here that probably supports this guy here. So you just got to slide this into that. Get that onto the arbor. Slide this piece on. And get your nut on here. Now I'm not sure if this has a lock on the shaft. I'm actually going to tip it over really quick to see. And it doesn't appear that there is one, but it is a left-handed thread, so it should actually tighten up on itself, or stay tightened on itself. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to just hold the blade. I'm not going to crank on this thing too much here. Alright, the biggest thing is we don't want the blade chattering around while it's running. Alright, we're going to put our baffle back in now. Phillips screwdriver. by the way. Give that a little spin, make sure that nothing is binding up. And we will put our blade guard in. So I'm just going to loosen these up a little bit. There's 2 Phillips screws here. Actually, I'm going to pull this off just to make it a little bit easier. I'll put this in here. We may need to adjust the center of this. I'm actually going to line up this bracket with the center of the blade. We should be good here. And let's get this back on. Oh yeah. Nothing's rubbing here. All right, and that's it. I want to show you guys too. Now that we got the blade installed, I powered it up. This thing sounds great. It sounds really powerful. There's some negative reviews if you look on HomeDepot.com or in their app. But I think it's due to a lot of inexperience cutting tile. Like, you can't just jam a tile through here, right? You gotta go kind of slow. This thing sounds wicked powerful. So I figured out what these are on here, right? So when you flip these up and you go to put your table back in, based on where you have this set, let's raise this here so you can see a little bit better. This actually allows you to cut either a 45 or, if you move it down to here, a 22.5 degree angle cut. That's pretty slick. It's a nice little hidden feature here that we have. They recommend having this blade guard tilted down, and that says what that does is it prevents any blade splash while you're cutting. So this height should be good. Our tile is about 3/8, maybe a little bit less. All right, so here is your angle guide. Like I said before, you have a 45 and a 22.5 inch angle cut on here. You can put your tile in here, slide it through the saw, and you will get that particular cut. All right, so we're gonna fill this up with water now. Now, if you notice in here, you can kind of see this little hole right here. That is the overflow. So you wanna fill the saw up with water till it's just about to the top edge of that, but not spilling out, obviously, so you don't make a huge mess. So we're gonna fill this up with some water. And you just want to monitor this while you're making cuts. If you're making a lot of cuts, some of that water transfers to the tile while you're making the cut and soaks in a little bit, so you will eventually need to make sure that the level is still adequate enough. You don't want to run this diamond blade dry. This particular kind, I mean, they do have blades for dry cutting, but this is a wet saw. It needs to stay wet. All right, so we're gonna turn this on here, and let's see if we get any. Oh yeah, I can actually feel the water slinging off on here. But that's nice. So it will be a messy process, so obviously make sure anything that you don't want to get wet is not anywhere near this saw. So I'm gonna clean up the area here, and we're gonna test tile on here. I already have the fence set up. Kind of do this almost like a table saw. You can actually put your tape measure against the fence. I measured like 1 13/16 to the edge of this plastic here from the fence. So that tells me that I'm squared up. Let's turn her back on. And I'm just gonna take a little bit off this tile here. this thing cuts like butter. This is great. You want to go really slow with this, right? You don't want to force it through because you will bind up the blade. All right, we'll shut her off here. Let the blade stop, and then we'll pull our tile out. That looks like a really nice cut to me. I'm pretty happy with this already. You got some of your debris left. That's a nice, smooth, clean cut. And this is the piece for reference that I took off. And you can see that's very even, so it definitely cuts really square. I mean, and I took this. This is not even a 1/4 inch. This is probably an 1/8 inch sliver I took off of this tile with not a problem. Thanks for watching, guys. I definitely recommend this. It's a QEP 700 XT. You got this from Home Depot, $109. If you need a wet tile saw on a budget, definitely recommend it.